Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Back Porch Lounge. We are the Leaf Cutters, and we are not professionals, but we're here to help. I'm your host, Ben.
Oh, hey, I'm Andy.
You got Graham.
Michael Rosales.
Zach.
Yay! We kind of stumbled through that, but we got through
got
it.
that.
Close enough.
So, you may see a new face in the Back Porch Lounge today. That's Michael Rosales. He is the co-founder of RoMa Craft Cigars. RoMa Craft Cigars is a great cigar. I can personally speak to that. The few that I've gotten to get have been awesome. And just like normal, today I'm smoking the, Aquitaine Sabertooth? I believe this is a Sabertooth.
I've got the Intemperance Whiskey Rebellion. It's my favorite.
You said Sabertooth, right?
Yep.
Sabertooth.
Okay, Sabertooth. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Robert
like
also has a Sabertooth.
I'm for it so far.
And I've got the Neanderthal.
LH.
So, what do you recommend, Mike, whenever, especially your cigar, do you recommend a straight cut, a punch, a V cut? What do you like?
I'm a big fan of whatever you like. I'm a straight cut. I like the cut. Typically what I have found is, depending on the type of cigar, right? Like I think, I've seen some guys who smoke the Neanderthal because it has a flat cap, will often, because it doesn't have the shoulder per se, that so people will punch it and usually punch it like 3 times, kind of have like that Led Zeppelin kind of look with the 3 kind of,
Nice.
I don't know what that logo is called, but it's very distinctive. So yeah, to me, I don't like the way that the tobacco starts to get a little. I think the heat and the moisture as you pull on the cigar, if it's punched, typically will, as it has its combustion, it comes through the cigar, will heat up and get hot, and then a lot of the oils will kind of get saturated, and it just kind of collects and it gets a little mushy. You see guys kind of chew on their cigars or whatever, and that to me is kind of indicative of somebody who might punch their cigars. I don't know why, but so I like to cut. I don't like sloppy cigars. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
Yeah. But if you punch, I would not make fun of you. I would just, say, that's and like I said, I mean, there may not be anything. There's no causation. It just could be one of those things that it just is. But in my mind and visually and the way that I think about it, it kind of correlates. So the Sabertooth that you guys are smoking, that is an Aquitaine in Connecticut. So it is the Cro-Magnon and the Cro-Magnon Aquitaine blend that has some accents that that have that Connecticut shade in it. And what's really kind of nice is for people who find that the Habano in the Aquitaine line is too strong, it kind of tones it down a little bit, right? So it kind of gives it a little bit more flavor. And it's not as pungent and sharp. So it's a very nice. We only do about 250 boxes annually, so it's about 12,000 cigars. It could be more than that.
What you're saying is we're lucky.
Yeah, if you can get a box, it's they're not mass market. I mean, the Black Irish, Fomorian, Sabertooth. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, shoot, we could sell millions of them. If I get the factory to produce them. But that's it's we talk about core line. To me, I think that people love to smoke them, and I'm starting to see a lot more of barber poles. And we didn't invent making barber poles, so I never want to say like, hey, people are kind of biting our style. One of the coolest barber poles I ever saw in a long, long time ago was the Prada version that was done by did the 1932 the Padilla. So Padilla had done that Prada 4-striped kind of beautiful cigar, and even before that, I mean, every factory has some type of version of those things. There's a vault with the Fuentes that have, this cool room that has, the baseballs and pipes and multicolored stuff. So, for someone to say, now I may disagree and say, I think we make the best out of all of them, but I mean, that's just, I'm supposed to, it's my company. Right. Like, so,
there you go.
I love all those guys, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's competition, right? Like, so, I'm kidding. They're like, this is, but I do feel like, our Candela, best on the market. Some of our craft series and versions that we've done, like, but the cool thing about it, so we make cigars for people who like to smoke cigars. We make cigars for people who smoke multiple cigars throughout the day, and to do that and to keep it at a price point. When Skip and I set out to do this, in early 2010, the cigar market at that time, not too short before that, you had a lot of things kind of going on, right? So when I started smoking cigars in 2000, it was kind of post boom, right? So the mid 90s through 99, tech boom, cigars kind of stopped, Cigar Aficionados got all the celebrities smoking cigars, all the athletes are smoking cigars, Jordan's on everything. And then all of a sudden, poof, that kind of goes away. And so, and a lot of it had to do with, people taking, one, I think the availability of really good tobacco at the time was very low. And secondly, the price point of cigars, kind of like right now, just kind of kept going. So somebody's private label over someone's private label over someone's private label, now it's a $30, $35 cigar. In that time, it got to the point to where, once the tech boom and the bubble kind of popped and people's money was a little tighter, it didn't make sense to pay that kind of money for a poorly constructed type of cigar, right? So then, you kind of fast forward, and then, around 2006, 2007, if my memory's right, you had 601, which was Espinosa and Ortega. They were coming out of the My Father factory. And then you had, Pete with Tatuaje, was, who was bigger to me at that time than My Father was, I remember coming to local shops down here in Texas, and people go, well, I've got 601, I've got this, and I've got this brand and that brand coming out of My Father. Why would I want My Father, right? And now you kind of flip around. It's like you go in and there's got like walls on the shelf of My Father. They've really done a good job of taking it to the next level. But that didn't really come until Le Bajou and the Jaime and or the Garcia and Garcia or whatever it was that came out. That might have been 08, 09. And then that was really like the jump off for what I recall for the My Father kind of brand really taking off and kind of, going more national. And so around that time in 08, 09, I think you had Cigar Aficionado came out, and they had the $5 cigar was like the number one cigar of the year, the Quesada cigar that came out of Plasencia, and that was it's gonna drive me nuts. It's on the tip of my tongue. Doesn't matter. But anyway, so they kind of reset the standard, right? So this $5-6 cigar was a value cigar, and it came out and it was the number one cigar of the year, and it just kind of blew everyone away. And so long story short, it kind of reset the tone. And so if you were really smoking cigars, or if you were a brand and you were kind of come out into that market, and at that time, Ashton was $10, $12, and then everything else was kind of in that $8 to $9, $10 kind of price point, right?
Yep.
And so what had happened, Skip and I kind of get together, and at the time, Skip had a cigar shop that he was involved with in Galveston, and it had gotten hit by the hurricane. It was Hurricane Ike, and so. But he was based out of Austin, but was he could work for wherever. And so kind of whenever he was in between international trips to, Panama or Bratislava or wherever, he was in the cigar shop, or he was kind of in a cigar shop somewhere around the country, right, or in the world. And so we would spend kind of times just as cigar nerds, right, and talking about kind of like what you guys are doing, and kind of the state of where cigars are at, and so. I, on the other hand, was had my background was in real estate, and I was kind of going back and forth between, here in Costa Rica, and I was working on a project down there. And then eventually a friend of mine, or this couple that were making cigars, had a son that wanted to come to work in the States. And so I ended up sponsoring him and found a local cigar shop that would host him. And then we started making cigars locally. And then would basically the thought process was that we would blend something on site, because he didn't really have anything else to do. He makes cigars. So I was like, okay, well, let's find a place to put you and host you. And then it's like, okay, well, if they host him and we, they would pay for him to be here. And my job was just to import. So I got an import and export license. And so I started importing tobacco back and forth from Costa Rica, Nicaragua, into the States. And so, and then they had 3 stores. So then he kind of was bouncing around from 3 different shops between here in Lubbock. And then long story short, another one came and another one came and another one came. And so I kind of became this guy. I was like, hey, you got the cigar rollers, So anyway, so Skip's in town. And he's looking at doing either a blend or open up a cigar shop. I wasn't really quite sure, but he had already done. So he was really cool with this guy named Doc Diaz, who was probably the first podcast guy that I can recall, who had the blowing. It was wasn't blowing smoke. It was Stogie Fresh out in Paso Robles.
I remember this chicken bush.
Yeah, and so Doc Diaz was one of those guys way before his time. Before I even knew what the fuck a podcast was. Like this guy. But he was basically doing what you got, educating people, right? So, So really, really cool dude out in Paso Robles, but he never went to the trade show. So he would send Skip, and then Skip would go to the trade show, and he would interview guys and talk about new products and stuff like that. So from the time that I met Skip was a big buyer in a cigar shop, right? Like a $3,000 a month kind of spender, that kind of guy. He also owned a cigar shop that had come and kind of gone. He had worked with Dave Diaz kind of as a blogger, kind of in a weird way, and then every once in a while would write for his channel and his own personal stuff, and then was just a really cool dude. So it was like on top of that, he's got this humongous executive job with Dell. So he could do P&Ls, he could do pivot tables, he could make a Excel moonwalk, right? So and here I am, I'm a deal guy. You know what? If you need a deal to get done, like you better call Mike Rosales, because I know who to put together to get the team to do what we need to get done and push things through, right? Like that was and so I just needed someone to kind of take what I was already doing, kind of embody the business aspect of it, point me in the right direction, and then say, okay, go fucking, sick balls, chopper. You know what I mean? Like that was, and so that's chopper, so when people ask me like why Skip? It's like why not Skip? Like who else smokes as much as he smokes, right? Had the business, background, had already sold his business, when he was much younger. He's kind of done it all, right? So it's like, so when you kind of look at the things that he's really good at and the things that I'm really good at, they don't really overlap, right? So, and then and believe me, this is before Facebook. So when we kind of got together, long story short, so I've got all these cigar rollers kind of around town. He comes to me and says, "Hey, I used to go and take tours down to the Dominican and down to Honduras, and he was really good friends. He was Christian Aurora. Him and Christian, if you guys know Christian, very analytical, very business savvy. Him and Skip back in the day, man, they would they're cut from the same cloth, right? So, the MBA, like you know what I mean? Like they've studied. They're just they're stupid smart, and so not that I'm not smart. I'm just not.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
Well,
you're not the analytics guy.
To me, like I don't, listen, if there's money in the checkbook, I've got cash. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't, and if there's not money, I go make a deal happen to put money into the bank, right? Like I'm just like any kind of sales guy. It's like, I'm a hustler. That's what I do. I survive, and I'm good at that, but with a good reputation. And so it was like, Skip was like at the perfect time, the right place, the right time. And so it all just kind of worked out. So when we sat down and we were like, okay, like, well, what are you trying to do? He said, I've got this cigar that I used to get from Christian, and it was really, really good, but I only got like 2 or 3 left. And so, believe it or not, so one of the guys that worked for me, his name is Raul Disla, who now runs the Natsa factory. He was here in Austin, and Carlos Charano Jr. is in town. And so by this time we had already kind of worked on the blends. So not to jump around too much, but essentially Skip says, hey, I like this cigar. So we take it apart, we look at it. So Raul and I kind of take a look at the tobacco. And I don't have any types of tobacco that are here or that I can make this cigar here locally. It's thicker, it's heavier, it's you know, for the stuff that we were doing, we were using a lot thinner, more, I'm getting, kind of like what you would find at a regular cigar shop. You know what I mean? Like I don't have, Polones and all this other stuff. I'm going down going, hey, please, let me sell me this, and this. And then we bring it over here. We make the best of what we can and then kind of move forward. Mm-hmm. And so, so we take the cigars apart and I said, you know what? The tobaccos that you have here, they're heavier, but here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to go down with this guy named Chris Kelly, who had a cigar shop up in Chicago called Tessa. So Tessa, they were probably one of the first American factory owners, or at least smaller ones. I mean, probably by that time Perdomo was down there, but Chris Kelly's dad was probably one of the first guys down there. I know they helped out Jonathan Drew back whenever they were kind of getting going, right? So that there was a big connection. And so anyways, I go down with Chris and we start working on this blend and, kind of basically came up with what was called Cro-Magnon. And so long story short, we bring it back, make a couple modifications here and there, but Skip's like smoking and goes, dude, this is completely different than anything that's on the market. Now, the cigar that Christian had given us obviously had more Honduran types of tobacco. We were using a lot more of the heavier, thicker types of tobacco. Este Ligero was easier to get back then, and so were some of the other stuff. And so we made some modifications based on like what we could get. And then, so I had brought up Twitter. So Skip, when the hurricane had hit, had obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, it's not. So using Twitter back then, to get onto Facebook, you had to have like a university address. And so, Facebook was really kind of in its infancy stages. Instagram wasn't even thought of at that time. So you had...
Right, it was all Twitter, because that's where I met Skip.
Yeah, so there's another platform before that. MySpace? Yeah, MySpace was, but that was just more of like a, but everything was kind of done through Twitter. And so, he had been using his Twitter account to kind of let people know what was going on the island, in Galveston Island after the hurricane, as well as kind of, sign up for our kind of, events page or whatever. It just kind of kept people. So the same thing that you guys know of, Skip on Facebook, it was the same, except for, it was just on Twitter. Right. And, but some of the coolest, well, yeah, I mean, your characters, obviously, you can only use so much, but as far as like the engagement back then, like, and still to this day, I mean, I still probably use I use Twitter more, or X, I should say nowadays, more so than I do Facebook, just because the community on a lot of guys who are like me, who are like, hey, I don't care about all your political stuff. Like, here's pictures of my kids and my family and all this other stuff, but every once in a while. But, all the social engagement for me is obviously is either certain groups on Facebook or, on X. And so, so as we were kind of talking about, or he was posting pictures, and it was just this cigar for him at the time. And so I had the roll here, one down in Houston and one in Dallas. And so at that time, because in 2000, now we're talking, so in 08, 2006 is kind of when I started this whole project. So in 08, 09, I mean, I was kind of working on getting the rollers kind of get going. And so when Skip and I kind of started talking in 2009 to 2010, the project really started kind of coming together full circle in 2010. And so, so we blend a cigar. It's fucking good. It's all over fucking Twitter. I bring in 5,000 cigars, and people are like, "Hey, send me some. Let me buy some." They're like five cigars, or there's like four different cigars for $35. His kids are over. They're like, I don't know, 16, 14 years old. They're stuffing envelopes, and I'm calling people, get people's credit cards and charging cards, and we're sending them out. And so anyway, so back to Carlos Serrano. So Charlie's in town, and Skip's like, hey, you want to try my cigar? And Charlie's like, you got a cigar? He's like, fuck yeah, I got a cigar. Anyway, so he hands out the cigar, and so he starts smoking, and he goes like,
this shit.
Yeah, he's like, this is really good. So, and he goes, what's the blend? So I'm like, and I kept telling Skip, like, hey, we don't talk about blends. Like, don't give up blends. Skip's like, fuck that, whatever. So it's got Pueblo Nuevo in it. So Charlie's like, you got Pueblo Nuevo in it? I'm like, because back then only a handful of people, actually, Charlie's family and were kind of growing out in that area, and the guy that ran his factory kind of were the only ones. And so Pueblo Nuevo has like this really beefy, so it's got this texture and thickness. It kind of lingers like a barbecue fat, right? So it's like the rendered, and so that's the reason why people were like, oh, dude, Cro-Magnon all day long. It's so fucking good, right? So, so Charlie Serrano's like, how do you know about Pueblo Nuevo? And then here's Raul. So Raul's like, so long story short, Esteban and Raul, when they were like 17, 18 years old, were brought over from the Dominican Republic. So when they opened up Latin Cigars, they were brought over to kind of create a rolling culture, because back then SLE was a much, much smaller little town. It's small now, but it's even smaller back then. And they didn't really have a lot of people that were actually designed, or it wasn't that tobacco town like it is now. So you had to go out and kind of start over and really kind of teach people how to roll cigars. And so Esteban and Raul, when they were younger, and in a weekend or in a day, they could do 800 cigars, believe it or not, as a couple. And they would come in at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. They would stay till late because it's all based on production. And so they would bang them out. I'm sure that they, at that age, they would let them do pretty much whatever. But they would send Raul later on. So Raul got the contract, and they sent him over he would do basically cigar events for Dunhill. And so Charlie's like, holy shit, like, how do you guys, all of a sudden it's like all this stuff kind of clicked, and kind of he co-signed on us, from an early jump off point. And so it just was a really cool kind of thing that just, my world in the real estate stuff had kind of was falling apart just because of the money and the finances and everything that was going on, and kind of 08 in real estate, and so I was over in the cigar stuff, bleeding money like left and right. I mean, logistically, it never made money, but it was just a way to kind of entertain my time, and was kind of hoping. Meanwhile, my wife's looking at me going like, okay, where's the money at and all this? Like, I see you guys having a lot of fun. But so she's got a job, she's holding it down. And I'm like, just trust me. And so long story short, it's not really a long story. It's a very long story. We got about 2 hours to fill up, right? So I'm going to keep saying that.
Sure. Why not?
So
as long as we're smoking, we're happy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So 2010, December 2010, January, February, March, April, Esteban sent in 5,000 cigars. I'm clearing customs, and we're selling everything we can make. And I get a phone call.
Oh, what are you drinking? Sorry.
This is
what are you drinking? I don't mean to cut you off.
Double espresso and water. No, this is water,
nice.
And this is double espresso. So sorry.
Yes.
Double.
Nice.
That's great. So continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to know.
No, it's okay. So basically, I hit the double espresso, and then I give a quick rinse, so that way. So I get a phone call. There's no more broadleaf. And Skip's like, well, what do you mean there's no broadleaf? I can, what do you need, money? So every time that we would send money down, Esteban was like, okay, hey, I need. So long story short about Esteban, Raul and Esteban are brothers. So Esteban was running Latin Cigars. Latin Cigars got sold by Scandinavia, or acquired by Scandinavia. So Esteban stayed on. Raul decided, hey, I'm done with this. Fuck this shit. They're not paying me enough, and decided to kind of, when I met him, he was working at AJ Fernandez, but he had a dual citizenship, and so I brought him here. So he was one of the first rollers that I had brought up, second roller that I brought up, and then after. So we talked to Esteban about, talked to Raul. Raul, did you want to help us open up the factory? He's making tons of money here in the States. Fuck no. Little girlfriends everywhere, having a good time. So who knows? He wasn't really interested. And then Esteban's like, well, let's talk to Esteban. And so he's like, here's pros and cons of a startup company. Obviously, you have, back then with Scandinavia, he could walk into any place and say, hey, whether it's a $500,000 or $1 million, $2 million worth of tobacco, if he said it was good tobacco, they would allow him to buy it. And so it was very well known and respected. It had a really good eye for actually procuring tobacco
Quality.
and then being able to say, hey, this tobacco in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever would be exceptional, or it'll lose, or whatever. And so anyway, so there was a skill set. So we said, why don't you would you consider opening up the factory with us? Kind of went through and outlined pros and cons of a startup company. Obviously, we don't know what will happen. Obviously you have job security. You have the things that you need. You're being well taken care of now. However, if we do this right, we're obviously struggling to kind of get this all sorted out. But if we do it right, we can be, and you can be part of, the team. And so anyway, we were off to the races. But before we kind of said, hey, we kind of built up to that. So he would take over, 4 or 5 of his friends, and at nighttime in the back of his house, if you guys would kind of imagine like a patio behind your house that's kind of long, narrow, concrete, basically.
Got one of those.
But kind of towards the fence line. So not like a patio that kind of walks off your house, more narrow, that kind of, so if your exit's over here, but your patio is kind of over here. So anyway, so we walled that off. Actually, I got a picture of it somewhere. So we walled that off, and so this was, and I don't know how well I'll be able to show you guys. This picture right here is in the back of Esteban's house, and so
Dude, that's awesome.
That's cool.
So
that is so cool.
We had started off. We had 4, two pairs, and kind of had the same conversation. They're relatives of Esteban, and said, "Hey, pros and cons." And they all kind of wanted to work with Esteban because it was all like in the like walk outside your house and go 2 doors down, right? Like it was all you wouldn't have to drive in a city or
all down
like
the
that.
street. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So it worked out, and so it was one of those things that so he would bring over 4 or 5 of his guys after work, and so between 4:30 to 9 o'clock, they would bang out 300 cigars a pair, or 150 each. Yeah, it's 150 each. So not a lot, but at the same time, we were just kind of building up, and so the idea is that we were still kind of selling direct to consumers, and then I started getting phone calls from guys who knew me around town, and all these other cigar shops from the tobacco roller side, and like, hey, are you going to sell me this cigar that's starting to get some buzz? And they were unbanded, and they didn't have any kind of distinctive information. We just had the one blend at the time, and it had gotten picked up and was put in some magazine. It got a 92 right off the rip, and so
Nice.
I go to Skip, and I'm like, listen, I know we're doing pretty good selling direct to consumers, but and the website was called Have a Cigar Shop, and
I shopped that. I remember those days. I shopped that.
Yeah, and so I said, I think we could take this to a national level. I'm starting to get. So we went to the trade show in Orlando. I want to say 2011. So 2011. So in that May timeframe, we fly down. 2010, and so at this time, I'm not making any money at all, and my focus really should be on real estate, but I'm having so much fun on the cigar side, and so I'm like, dude, listen, I gotta go work, I gotta go I gotta go sell some real estate shit, because I'm at the bottom of the barrel for my funds, as much as good of a time we're having. And so this is down in Nicaragua, so and at the time, again, I knew everybody. I knew how to import, export. I knew, Esteban. I knew Raul. I knew where to go get tobacco. I knew, everything that was kind of lined up, except for, what's called a 382, which allows you to buy and import, transfer through a free zone. But I was too small at the time. I didn't really need that. So we sat down and so on the beginning part of that trip, we go see Jonathan Drew, and Jonathan's like, I'd love to sell you some tobacco, but I'm a free, we can't sell tobacco to you because you don't have this license. So go talk to Gustavo, and I was already kind of dealing with Gustavo's, like the second in command, but not with Gustavo directly. And Jonathan called him and said, hey, I'm gonna send these guys over if they need, help them out with whatever they can. And so he kind of co-signed for us early on, and so we go see Gustavo, and we basically put our name on, I don't know, $500,000 worth of tobacco. So Skip's like, oh, you got broadleaf? Yeah, we'll take that. How much you got? Well, we got about 300 pounds. Okay, we'll take that. And and back then, you're probably talking $24, $22 a pound for broadleaf. High end 26. Habano. So okay, we need a Habano. We need something, in case we go through this thing where Habano is not available. So we go look at the Habano Ligero, which is what's on the Aqua tin that you're smoking. He said, well, how many pounds of that do you have? Oh, 500 pounds. Yeah, we'll take that, right? And I'm sitting over here in my math in my head going, oh shit, like this guy's fucking, going ham. I've the most tobacco I'd ever bought altogether was about 2,000 pounds, but that was mostly filler leaf, which is about $5 or $6 a pound, right? So in my head, I'm going, oh, this guy's going ham. And so he said, well, we need cigars in case that we got to make on a regular basis. So we got to work on a Connecticut, and we got to work on this, Brazilian Arapiraca, which became the Intemperance line. And funny thing about that story is that Jonathan Drew had just told us the night before, like, hey, whatever you do, we just sent back 500 pounds of this Brazilian Arapiraca. We've had it for, trying to get it to work, yada, yada. I can't stand it. It's hydroscopic. It's got all kinds of problems. So Skip goes, let me see this Arapiraca that, so we end up buying that stuff. And so which was a great week as far as like productivity, because it really set the tone. We talked about, how we were going to execute. We blended basically the other lines, the Brazilian, the Connecticut, and the Aquatine and the broadleaf were just the same cigar, different wrappers, but the other ones were actually different blends. Esteban had already had a Connecticut that he really, really liked, and so that was kind of the Intemperance line, and in the EC, and then we all kind of worked together on the BA, and so we're leaving Gustavo, and Skip said, okay, great, when can we come pick all this stuff up? And he goes, oh well, this broadleaf's got another 13, 14 months of kind of being in this complete loan before it's ready, so probably January, February next year, so that kind of started the whole other conversation, like, oh shit, like, so, and again,
this is ready now. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, oh, this is fresh off the container. It's got to be babysat for the next year. So, big learning lesson, right? And so, listen, man, everyone will say whatever. Everyone has opinions of, if somebody said, hey, again, this is Michael 10, 15 years ago, like, hey, we're gonna put the office together. I would have said, let's go to IKEA. We'll get some tables, we'll put some chairs together, whatever. We'll all fucking hand screw it, whatever. In Skip's mind, it's, no, that's not us. That's not on brand. If you're going to be a craft company, you got to have somebody from Texas who has Texas wood that can build these, a desk that is, that's finished. Like, these guys come in here and they build, this type, the bar, these tables over here, right? Like they've got the swivels, right? So this is our, office chair stuff. Mm-hmm. And so as far as forward thinking and doing something and doing it with quality, doing it one time, doing it with everything that with the purpose, that was Skip, right? Like that was, again, a different mindset, different, but you're talking about a guy who worked for Fortune 500 companies where, for me, like I've been self-employed since I left, college, right? So I never had that kind of guidance. I never had, it's kind of this, this rich dad, poor dad kind of mentality. It's, where I just knew, how to go out and hit home runs. I never knew about how to get on first base.
Make it work.
Yeah. And so, simple but substantial. Do it right the first time. And so that was. So I'll be forever grateful. Like those are things that For me, like I didn't realize how immature I was in my stylistic kind of thinking of creating a brand or creating something that really had the substance behind it, which, and again, I don't know if anyone really kind of does it the right way, and obviously we've set the tone for a lot of people, because you kind of look at kind of where we launched at. We kind of talked about kind of what was going on in the marketplace in the 07, 08, right? And then you kind of, you fast forward to 2012 and you have, Christian Aurora's back in the industry. You have Matt Booth kind of coming on scene. You have Caldwell coming on scene. And then, 2016, 2017, you have, somewhere in between there's Black Label. And then you have, Foundation and Saka, Leaf by Oscar and Jim, what they've kind of done. Fratello, right? Like, so, everyone has kind of come on and it's not, it's really taking like this historical kind of view and go, okay, where do we kind of fit at in this overarching kind of storyline, right? And so I just kind of shared you guys a little bit of how we kind of got into it and how we kind of tackled and decided to do something in a way that's very significant and very impactful. But yet, when we defined everything back in 2010, and when this was kind of happening, it was like, okay, how do you make a cigar that is about as full flavored, full bodied, in texture, in depth, richness, but do it at a price point that's fair, right? Do it at a price point that, that allows guys like us who smoke 5, 6, 7, 8 cigars a day to be able to enjoy the cigars that we make day in and day out, to where they don't have to, spend, if it's $10, $15 a cigar back then, if it's $10, right? You speak, it's talking about $60, $70, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, fast forward, here we are. We just dropped a cigar called the Volstead with the Sumatra, hybrid. That again, $7 to $10 price point off a cigar. When I know right now, if we wanted to, we could throw something out there in that $17 to $24 space like everybody else, and nobody would even blink. No. But yet at the same time, that's not what identifies us as a company, right? And that's not what so I know I've talked a lot. There's a lot to digest. I'm going to give you guys a second to kind of take that in. If you have questions, this is so I'm going to take a puff of my cigar and I'll take a drink, and I'll let you guys and then I'll figure out where I want to take this conversation out next.
All right. No, I wanted to say thank you, because usually I'm doing all the talking, trying to get things going. So you've allowed me to actually sit down and enjoy the shit out of this cigar. So I appreciate that. Not only thank you for coming on, but damn, I get to smoke. I'm happy as shit.
There you go.
But since we are at that point, let's go ahead and give our first review of this. I know we didn't get to do the first light, but I'm about halfway, because I have been puffing away on this thing because it's been great.
Yeah, I'm about halfway too.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start with mine. It lit up great. I mean, had great output. It's burning really even. Not leaving a film on my mouth, because if you've seen my show, if you leave a film on my mouth, you're getting a lower rating. But no film in the mouth, it's really good.
What you said.
I'm about textures. So it's been really good from start. Now that I'm at the middle, it's just as good as when I started. It's full of flavor. I am digging the shit out of it, and like I said, I appreciate you letting me smoke it.
I mean, I get to go next, because that's
you get to go next,
alphabetical thing, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I've ever had a bad RoMa Craft cigar, and the Whiskey Rebellion, the Intemperance Whiskey Rebellion, it always kind of hits point for me. It's well constructed. It's got it's just a great cigar to smoke in general. It's got good flavors. I'm afraid that the 3 hot dogs I had for lunch aren't going to make it. It's not going to provide enough padding for that full ass kicking that I'm going to get at the other half of the cigar. But we'll see how that plays out.
How about you, Grimbles?
Sorry. Michael, I'm joking. I'm sorry. I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this. I just,
I appreciate it. It's okay. Yeah, no, it's dude.
It could be the perfect cigar, and he's gonna go.
Sorry, it's good.
All right,
it's good. about you, Robert?
If that's his
Actually-
O face, man, I would hate to see what the reaction of his partner is like. He's like, oh, that was good. That was
No, that-
you know what I mean?
That's high five.
It was very
That's
good.
high five when he's done.
Yeah. She's down there working. Oh, that was good. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Yes.
In the back, you just hear an achievement ding,
Yeah.
and things move on.
I actually think I have found a new favorite cigar.
I'm right on.
I really liked it. I mean, I agreed there's no aftertaste. It lit well. It's burning well. Great input, great output. I love this thing. How far away did you have to drive for this?
About an hour.
So I guess I'm going to be taking an hour every now and then.
We'll call Penny.
Oh yeah, we could call Penny. She can get us some.
Okay, yes. Like I said, I would
How's she
definitely
doing? I'm
want more.
not. You talking about Penny from up in Maine,
Yeah,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire? Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing all right. We met her. Zach and I she came down to Shreveport. Her and Jay came out they actually went to New Orleans for a week and came up for a concert to Shreveport to visit us and, to go more to a concert. But she's doing good.
It was a happy coincidence that we got to see.
Make it about
It was a
yourself,
very
Andy.
happy
What the hell?
coincidence. I think I've known her and I've been getting cigars from her for like 10 or 15 years and I'd never met her face to face. So it was one of those happy coincidences. But yeah, she seems to be doing pretty good. Business is booming. Good for her.
So, how about
Last
you,
time I
Zach?
saw her I was at the trade show, and then through I heard that she was married and some other things. So I was like, wow, okay, that's. But I'm not. I need to reach out to her and see how she's doing. Make sure she goes to the trade show. Sorry to interrupt.
I'll tell her you said hi.
She's a trip. She's a trip, man.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
She's a trip. We had a blast hanging out. We went to a new lounge in one of the casinos here, and spent some time just having a good time hanging out. It's good.
Sweet.
So
There you go.
you want me to review it? I guess
It's your turn.
Then. I think this is the first. No, this may be the second Neanderthal I've had. I can't remember what the first one Andy gave me was. It was either Cro-Magnon or the Neanderthal.
Hell, I don't remember either.
I don't know. That one kicked my ass, though. It was delicious, but kicked my ass. And this one is delicious as well. I mean, the construction is perfect. I did end up punching it because it doesn't have a shoulder, like you were kind of saying. And I gave it a double punch. But I didn't know that about that, and I'll take it into consideration next time I get one of these, which I definitely will.
Do you
Because
find
it's
it?
quite
Do you
delicious.
find it more humid, like wet, at where the mouth is at, or do you find it it's holding up dry?
This one's holding up good. It's not getting gummy or anything like that. So far, so good. It did feel a little bit like it was maybe under humidified a little bit. We're at the store, and I didn't have much time in my humidor before I lit it up. So
I actually prefer cigars to
that
be
may be
at a higher humidity. I think, like, no bullshit. I don't know if you guys paid attention. These cigars have been on my desk for about 3 days. I tell people all the time, and trust me, I can show you. I could walk in here and smoke anything off this. I mean, when I tell you I got
Show
cigars coming
off.
out the
Show
ass-
off.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not. I'm just saying. I mean, I got cigars coming out my ass.
Yeah.
Right. Like. But I
it's
always
like
tell
you
people,
own a cigar company or something. It's ridiculous.
that's the problem. I get into things, and I'm an over consumer until it's like collecting all that Weller stuff that I was showing you guys earlier. It's like I gotta collect all the the infinity rings. You know what I mean? Like I can come in here and smoke anything and everything
Nice.
that
Wow.
And this is not to stunt. This is not to front. But the point of it is that I truly believe that
Yeah.
cigars
You're flexing.
taste
You're
better.
flexing.
No, this is an educational point. That the cigars that are on my desk, unbanded, no label, no nothing, are here for a very specific purpose and reason. There's a myth in the industry that cigars should be 70 degrees humidity, 7 degrees temperature, and I think that's a really good baseline. I think that's a really good, for people who want to come in, they want to come, people who don't smoke like we smoke. I don't know how many of you guys smoke, but I assume you're like within the same level of me. Or Skip.
Yeah. I am not. I smoke probably weekly, not daily.
That's okay.
Yeah, we're definitely the professional smoker.
Yeah.
We're the amateur smoker.
Regularly, though.
Except for Andy.
Okay.
Andy, he's right there with you.
I'm quasi-professional.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So we're gonna get you guys there. Like, it's a slow process, but I think the reality of it is
good to have goals.
Absolutely. Every cigar has different types of thickness and texture and levels into it, right? So you can get away with a little extra humidity in a thinner type of cigar. So you guys said you had an educational part of your podcast. So this is one of the things that I drives me absolutely fucking. I'll see people, they'll go out and they'll buy a $85 cigar from X brand or whatever, and then they're like, oh, this is garbage because it's tunneling. It's like, okay, well, fucking numbnuts. Like, if there's a couple of things. Number one, if your cigar is starting to tunnel, one, you're probably hotboxing it. Number two, it's over humidified, right? So that means it's too much humidity, right? Number three, it can be fixed. It can be fixed. So there's a couple of things you can do. If you have scissors, I'm a big fan of the scissors, but if you don't have scissors, you can take, if you can get it through there, so what will happen? So people who are watching who may not know. But let's say, for example, you light your cigar on the outside and you're puffing. What ends up happening is there's a couple of things. There could be a twist in the bunch. It could be that the overhumidification or the wrapper leaf on the outside is thicker and heavier than the internal types of tobacco on the inside, right? So you puff. So what ends up happening is as you pull the air through the chamber, and there's either a blockage because it's got a twist, or something is going on to where the air funnel is basically, it's kind of causing this swirling sensation. And so basically the thinner types of tobacco aren't burning at the same combustion level as the outer tobacco. So you can do a couple of things. One, you can take your torch
wherever you put it.
And you can basically touch up and burn past the line. Think of it like your belt, like you just had a big old fat breakfast or lunch, dinner, whatever, and you just want to unbutton your buckle a little bit. Just feel like, it allows you to breathe. That's it, right? So if it allows you to basically, so the air as it blows through can kind of get through the chamber, right? The other thing you can do is you can score the tobacco and just cut down about 1/4 inch of where you were kind of at. And you can also do this if you want to kind of get a flavor of like let's say before you pre-lit, whatever. We do this all the time. If I want to see like what the flavors taste like pre-wrapper, post-wrapper, right? So you just kind of score a little bit of the tobacco underneath the fire, and then use your nail, pull off a little bit of the wrapper leaf on the outside, torch it again. All of a sudden, boom, you're in business, right? You can fix a cigar that tunnels, but it really fucking drives me nuts when I see people post pictures and be like, this cigar sucks or this factory sucks, when most of the time it's going to be because it's over humidified.
Interesting.
And you're hot boxing it faster than you're allowing the or you didn't light it right. Like, but no one wants to call out on social media like, but I'm not here to pick on people. I'm here to educate, and so
cut your shit right.
There you go.
And we're here to learn. So, what's your like? If you had to pick a humidity as your goal, what percentage would you go for? Like for the people listening at home who maybe want to try this.
I think heavier tobaccos.
Yeah.
Okay. So broadleaf, San Andres, which is what you have in your hand. Habanos, right? I would probably go at a 65, 64 humidity level.
Okay.
And then thinners, I'd probably go 70, 72, right? It also depends if I'm aging them for long term. But again, I think smoking often enough, I'll give you really, it's like, if you make chili. I assume you make chili, right? Like you make like a pasta sauce, right? Like, every time you have, you might need to add a little bit more garlic salt. You might need to add a little bit more pepper. You might need to add a little bit more, paprika or, some kind, whatever. But as you're cooking, you kind of taste throughout to kind of see like where it's going and where it's tracking. Like, you should. I mean, you could be doing cans and just, putting it in there. Who knows, right? But, but once you kind of get to a level and you've had, chili throughout your life or some kind of pasta sauce throughout your life, you kind of know, you tracking like where you like it at. And so for a casual smoker who just goes in, I mean, I think the challenge, they pump so much humidity in a lot of in the humidors, and they keep them closed because of the traffic. So every time you open it up, it's like your AC, right? Your AC kicks on, and it's trying to maintain a constant kind of level. And there may be times where it's over, if the temperature is not doing its job or whatever, that it may put too much humidity in and not. Sometimes you got to back off, right? Or you might see like the shelves are like kind of here, but yet the humidifier itself is blowing straight down on the cigars, right? So that's a really tough kind of thing. To me, it's always I kind of feel and I kind of listen to it, right? And the tobacco will tell me if it's if it's crackly, probably needs a little bit more humidity. If it's if it's got some mush to it, a little softer, right? Then it's probably over humidified. And so I'll let them sit out here and until I get to the point to where I think it's ready to go. But touch, taste, and feel. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but when you've done it over and over and over again, and you spend the kind of money that we spend on tobacco and cigars, like you just kind of you do it enough to where
learn it.
Yeah. That's why we say those.
That brings up a really good question.
Sure, what's up,
Mike? You said chili. So since you're in Texas, is that beans or no beans?
I think it depends. Are we doing Texas? Are we doing Texas chili, or are you doing chili? So and what I mean by that is like I think there's definitely a difference. So if I'm if I want Texas chili, it's no beans. Which is more of the sauce, right? And heat and kind of some depth, spices. If I'm doing something, I wouldn't turn my nose up to it if it had beans in it. Like I'm not. But so it just kind of depends.
This is bullshit. It's got beans.
Yeah. No. What is this? So there's a huge, there's a place called the Texas Chili Parlor that, like, if you were to go in there, like, hey, there are no beans to be found, but there's probably, it's all based on heat levels, right? So it's what I will tell you though is sometimes, like, I'm not a big fan of like indigestion, and heartburn. So I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like I need it to be like super chilly. Like I don't need 3-alarm fire in my esophagus. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah. No.
That I mean I got so if it's like that, you might find me adding some cheese and some onions and some other shit to it. I don't know. Like I would have to dress it up if it's too hot. So. But and there's a big difference between like hot on the mouth and then like hot, it's like bourbon, you know what I mean? Like there's high, it's like higher proofs that it's like, oh, that's not too bad. You put it in your mouth or whatever, you take your first drink, you're like, oh my God, it's that 130 proof, whatever. So,
right.
So, however, I am a big believer though, as far as barbecue is the same question, right? It's like, I am a big believer that there should be no sauce, no sauce on your barbecue. And if you're putting sauce on the barbecue, then I feel like you're trying to hide the quality of your meat. So
you've done something wrong if I'm having to put sauce on my barbecue.
So in Austin, I've been to Austin a couple times and had some pretty good barbecue. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite barbecue spot in Austin or in Texas, I guess, in general?
Man, there's so many good places.
Yeah, there are.
So it's for us locally, we go to a place over here called Style Switch Barbecue, and there's a reason. So I think pretty much they cook. The only time they shut the pits down is on Monday, and then they kind of start up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they cook all day long. So you can go there at 8, 9 in the afternoon, and you can get brisket or ribs or chopped beef or sausage. Like they don't run out. They don't run out, right? So, and their sides are really good. So you can go to some places where it's like the brisket it slaps, right? Like it's just so good. Like this is, but then the sides, like the beans are kind of meh or whatever. So you're like, if I could take the sausage from this place, and I could take the chopped beef from this place, and I could take the ribs from over here and the sides from over there, then I can combine and I can make like a decent plate of barbecue, right? But who's got time to do all that shit?
Right.
Louis Mueller's is a really good place out in just kind of north of us. Does a really good job. But I was up in Fort Worth the other day and went to there's a place called Heim. There's a place down here that does a Tex-Mex barbecue, like where it's super simple. It's a tortilla, homemade tortilla, brisket, avocado, and some salsa. It's so
Sounds
good.
Tasty.
It's so again, kind of depends on what you're in the mood for, right? But I would tell you that we don't do. I'm sure there's some good pulled pork. I wouldn't call it the best. If I wanted that, I'd go to the Carolinas, right? If I wanted, saucy sweet, I'd go to Kansas City or someplace else. But you try what I've learned over is just enjoy it for what it is. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have the energy to get into great debates over so my give a shit level has kind of fallen off the map.
Right.
So,
down here somewhere.
Yeah.
The last time I was in Austin, it was for the Formula One race in 2019.
Right on.
And we went to Black's Barbecue, and I got a beef rib, and it kind of changed my life a little bit. It was so fucking good.
Yeah.
And I know it may not even be like on the top 10 list of best beef ribs in that area, but man, it was amazing. So
there's a magazine down here called Texas Monthly, and so basically what they'll do is they've been kind of reviewing and rating from all sizes and levels, right, to the startup little food trucks to whatever. And so it's always fun to kind of check out the list to see like who's up and coming. And what you quickly kind of learn is there are like schools, like kind of like a family tree, right? So you can go to Louis Mueller's and kind of follow the family tree of like these guys that have kind of taken what they learned at the original, being a pitmaster out in that area, and then they've kind of spawned off and they're doing something on their own. Or you can go to the Terry Blacks and their family, right? Or you can go to Snow's or whoever, and essentially, some way, shape, or form, you can kind of tie it back to the 4 or 5 original houses of barbecue that So which
awesome.
It's the lineage, right? You just kind of and so and then you're seeing a lot of these guys. I was in New York City a couple months ago, and so my buddy Lance over at Style Switch was actually, they paid them to come out to New York City to help them get their pits going and kind of start and basically he was there for 3 or 4 weeks, basically consulting to kind of get their pit up and running. And so you're seeing this influence of like Texas barbecue kind of spill over into other cities and states, which I think is great, right? So
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And eventually it may.
I'm a fan
because we don't all get Texas barbecue.
No, I mean, dude, we got gas stations down here that run circles around.
It's the same here in Georgia.
Yeah.
It's the same here in Georgia. We have barbecue places everywhere, but it's not Texas barbecue. There is a huge difference between Texas barbecue, between Georgia barbecue, like you said, the Carolina barbecues. They're all different. So yeah, it's good to see that other influencers are coming from other places and actually sharing, a little bit, just like cigars. You're getting different things from different places, and it's awesome to be able to, source these things. So I'm 100% with you there.
My number one rule, typically when I travel, is I try to eat whatever is known for local. You know what I mean? Like if you're up in Pittsburgh, it's like what's local cuisine? Like, what are you known for? And then, and they'll always tell you, like, Geno's and Pat's, even though they're across the street, like, even though they're probably, lower tier, they're so well known, you got to go stand in line. You know what I mean? Like, you got to go try them side by side and then decide, do you like them, don't like them. And then once you kind of go out, you go to Luke's, you go out to Prince's, you go out to some of those other places, you're like, holy shit, that's like next level, right? So, and I kind of feel like kind of barbecue is kind of the same way. It's like, everyone will come down here and they'll go out to the Salt Lick. Salt Lick has this really cool pit. It's really iconic. It's got this ginormous kind of circular ring, and then above it, the sausage kind of hangs down in the middle. And the cool thing about that place was, back in the day, it and still is, you could BYOB because it was on, it's on this big ass property, and you could, on Sunday, if you wanted to, you go grab a 6-pack or whatever with your family, go get your barbecue plate, load up, and then sit out there and have a really cool, kind of dinner on Sunday afternoon. And so, so for its purposes, it's good. It's probably there's probably 50 other barbecue joints between here and there that I would go to before I go to that one. But if someone showed up in my office and they say, hey, here's some barbecue, I would sure fucking eat it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't turn it down. But I might say, well, why didn't you go to so-and-so and so-and-so that were closer? But, at the end of the day, like, I don't turn down food. So that's I don't
think it's a pretty good philosophy.
Good man.
Well, it's almost,
all right,
it's
so going back
it's
to
almost,
our edge.
Go ahead. I was going to say it's almost crawdad season.
No, go ahead.
And it is crawdad coming up? It is?
Crawfish season.
Oh, yeah. We're in it.
Yeah.
Not a very good harvest this year, from what I understand, but it's everywhere again.
Wait another 6 weeks and then come over. They'll be a little bit bigger.
There's a town that I went to that's like the mecca for mud bugs, and so I would go to this place, and I'm not a big crawfish. I don't even like shrimp. I'm allergic to shrimp and shellfish stuff. But we were driving through Louisiana, and it happened to be like in the middle of the festival, and I go into this place, and these people had like the black gloves on and fucking bibs and the whole thing. Right? These were professional crawfish eating folks, and I was so like, these people are fucking getting down. Like, for me, I'm like, where's the sausage and where's the corn? Like, I need the whole thing. I can't just eat crawfish.
Yeah.
But these, I mean, mountains of, and it's like, holy Jesus, like.
It's so much work, though. I mean, to eat a mountain of crawfish is like a half-day event.
Sure.
We split 3 pounds the other weekend.
Yeah. When Penny was in, it was the last time
Zach and I split 3 pounds, and that was enough.
Oof.
Yeah. But we also got sausage and corn and potatoes and stuff.
Yeah, that's
what's it called? The Cajun hot pot or whatever it's called.
Crawfish boil.
That's it. Crawfish boil. Thank you.
Yeah, crawfish boil.
You're welcome. We're here for you.
What was the question for we're going back to the education part?
Well, I'll say, getting back into our educational part, usually in our show we do a question from Robert that we can answer for him, because Robert's kind of our newbie cigar smoker. I mean, he's been doing it for a while now with me, but he's still learning a lot of stuff. So he usually has a question for us, and he does have a question today.
Okay, with the advancement of online shopping, what's better, shopping online or shopping at a store?
That's a pretty darn good question. I'm going to say, especially with the day and age we are living in, take advantage of both. And what I mean is, like, go online and, order your cigars that you want to smoke daily, stuff like that. You can probably get them a little bit cheaper and a little bit bigger bulk. But you don't want to neglect your stores, because your stores are going to be able to introduce you to stuff you've never seen online. You go in there, they have tons of different brands you can look at, pick you up a couple of them. And especially if you're, a seasoned smoker or a newbie cigar smoker, being in the humidor itself, people will teach you things that you never knew before. So just, sit down, have a conversation with them, have a smoke with them. But don't neglect your brick and mortar stores by any means. Go see these guys. You'll learn a lot from them, and you'll probably have a good time just sitting down and smoking with them. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I can't argue any of that wisdom.
I definitely get my cigars from both. I do like going into the humidor and hearing what's new and talking to the people working the shop, hanging out in the lounge, that sort of thing. So it's definitely a part of the experience that I enjoy.
Can you get to talk to people like Mike, who know more about cigars than I'll probably ever know?
Do I get to talk about this conversation?
You're all welcome to chime in.
We would love to hear your opinion.
Buy all your stuff from RoMa Craft. That's what I'm hearing.
No, we don't. We don't sell it. We don't sell it yet,
direct.
Right? Yeah.
That's not how that plays.
So there's this. This kind of leads into a question about for the guys in Atlanta, right? So I think from a manufacturer, and this kind of goes into what. So I think it's important to have a relationship with your tobacconist. And the challenge with that is a couple things. There are less and less people like Penny, and there are more and more people who are all about kind of the experience, volume, cigar bars, and these other types of things. So what I see, which is kind of like you need all of them, right? You need, like for example, we have a liquor store here in town. We don't sell to them, but it's called Specs, right? You can go into any Specs. They're probably $2. They have a cash price that they do. They basically, if you pay with a debit card, it's cheaper than if you pay with a credit card. There's no one in there to help you, but you can definitely go in there and get things inexpensive. And I'm talking about you can get, Padron Anniversario series. You can go in there and get, I've seen, Flying Pigs in there. I've seen it all. Like, and they buy big and they have everything. But you're not going to get any kind of service. There's no one there to engage with you, to talk to you about, let me take you on this journey of, maybe you started off with flavored and now you want something a little bit lighter, but you kind of want to get off, out of that into more traditional types of cigars. What's a Dominican Puro? What's a Honduran Puro? What's a, Nicaraguan? And take you on that journey to find out, okay, well, I like this one better from this region. Okay, well, let's go into that and then explore, here's a cigar that's got, Ometepe or Jalapa or Esteli Ligero, or this has, something out of Don Lee and kind of its origins, and, something that, maybe like Christian or his dad are doing, with CLE in that region, or something that, Ray Oleas is doing out of the Dominican Republic or Hochi or something like that, right? So, So there's definitely a conversation piece that needs to happen. And the problem is when you kind of go in and you're online and you go into some of these groups, people will rag on you if it's not, ultra premium, or they'll make fun of you if it's, whatever, right? So it's like, so if you're looking for help and you're looking for education, realistically, the tobacconist is the one that should be able to kind of help guide you through that, right? But so many people are really concerned and worried about the right label and the right band and the right whatever, and so that is difficult. The other side of that is if you go into your local tobacconist and you said, hey, do you have a brand like RoMa Craft? And they go, who? What's that? I don't, I saw Skip and Mike or, whatever. Well, who's that? And they're disengaged, right? And they have no idea, of a company like us. Then you're kind of handicapped, right? Because then you're kind of forced because that tobacconist wasn't willing to say, well, let me look into it and kind of figure out, because, as a consumer, you've signaled to the retailer tobacconist that, hey, I'm interested in this, right? Then they call the manufacturer and go, hey, I need to get an account. I've got a guy that's looking for, this, and this. And then I got to go, well, I'm to open up an account with me, you got to do all this other stuff. And like, well, I don't want to do all that shit. Fuck that guy. It's not worth it. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well now they got to go online to the people or somebody who can mail order or mail ship or whatever, or hopefully they'll find someone like Penny that can drop ship or, handle it over the phone and get it to you. But that there's a disconnect in that part, right? Because, as far as, you go into from a manufacturer perspective, so RoMa Craft only makes 1 million cigars a year, right? Which is not a lot. And to kind of put that in perspective, Drew Estate's probably doing 75 million a year, right? So, and that's, it could be more now that, the Blackened series and Willie's cigar and the stuff that they do with, Sweet Jane, Mary Jane stuff and Deadwood, and you go on and on and on. Like they're pumping out a lot of cigars, right? And all different classes of cigars, flavored to everything else. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just they've gotten to a level to where the demand for what they're doing it's a monster. So a retailer or a tobacconist likes that because they don't really have to hand sell anything. People come in, they grab a scoop of it, they go to the register, they check it out, and they get out, right? And so there's kind of this shift into, and I get it. Would you rather sell handfuls of cigars to people that just come in, buy their stuff, and leave? Or would you have to sell 1 or 2 cigars to somebody and hope, so you're either trying to look for a customer for life, or you want the volume, right? Or do you want the right mixture of both? And that's really, so I've got a customer out of Arizona, Fine Ash, Sam and Rosie, really good friends of ours. So I've vacationed with them. We've traveled with them. They used to be really, really boutique. They opened up a cigar bar in over by the Arizona Cardinals, football stadium, and now it's basically, there's a line of people, trying to ring in and get the cigars and go, drink and smoke. To have a conversation piece about, Room 101 or Caldwell or Foundation or Saka or whatever, like you can't have that conversation because guys are just, they want to go get their cigar, get lit, and go sit down and drink. And so there's a shift, maybe, between 2 and 5 o'clock you can have that conversation, but once the bars, the music's on and the, whatever, like it's so you hope that you have a good enough, kind of a brand established in that situation where people just come in and they're grabbing your cigar out of the humidor and it's part of the rotation. But that comes after doing multiple events and being in the humidor pretty frequently, having a good, relationship with the customers. So the customers are then telling people like, oh, go grab that cigar. That's, I just saw them smoking, the Aquitaine on this podcast. Let's try that one. So you hope you do enough to keep that conversation going to do your part of it, right? Because what's happened is no one gives 2 rats ass that we make a cigar between $7 to $10 that's available and as good as it's going to get. What'd you pay for the Whiskey Rebellion you're smoking today?
Well, I don't know, Mike. I've slept since then.
$8, $9, $7.50?
Probably $8 or $9, yeah.
Right. So, on one side, I often hear, why would I sell your $8 cigar and make, a couple bucks on that when I can sell, XYZ that are $20, $25 cigars, and I can make 2x amount of money on my, so if they're going to come in and buy one cigar and have 2 or 3 drinks, I would rather sell them the $20-ish cigar and sell them 2 cocktails and and charge them $75 versus the $10 cigar and a beer. You know what I mean? Like, so, so,
and it's
difficult. Go ahead.
But I say it's great you bring this up, because with my tobacconist, you know, these guys know that I like to frequent a place called Thick Ash Cigar. And anytime I'm trying to source something specific, I will go call him first. Now, he does have a smaller humidor, but he is so open to listening to what you're asking for.
Sure.
So when I called him about RoMa Craft, he was like, unfortunately, I've never heard of them, but you need to tell me a little bit about them. So I explained, you know, I was like, you know, I like RoMa Craft. I've had a couple of them. They're really good cigars. You know, I'm trying to get one for the podcast I'm doing. And he was like, all right, describe the band to me. Let me know what it's like. I'll see if I can reach out to him. Let's see what we can do for you, okay? And I was like, that's great. And he's done that every time I've asked him. And if he doesn't have something, he's been like, yes, I carried that, but it didn't move very well. So I stopped carrying it because, again, I have limited room. But he is so open. And, you know, shout out to Tim at Thick Ash, because he is all about his customer. He wants you to come in. He wants you to have a good time. He wants you to, you know, smoke good products.
No, that's great.
So,
that's great. You know,
there you go.
So the double-edged sword and all that is to say, post-COVID, right? Like, you guys are out smoking cigars on your patio, right? So it used to be that if you wanted to have a cigar, you would go into the lounge and you would buy a cigar. You would go sit down, or, you know, and then before you left, maybe you would go pick up a handful for the weekend, and you would, you know, have your cigars that you would need. But since so many people post-COVID are not going back into cigar shops, and it's gotten relatively easy to kind of just click and ship. The one thing that I will say as a new person is if you are in a lounge and you are frequenting somebody's places, and you get an email about the cigar you're smoking that pops up on someone's, you know, auction site or bid site or whatever, and it's ridiculously cheap, don't talk about that inside the lounge. Like, that's probably, you know, one of the you know, if somebody, you know, opens up their so if someone opens their, you know, their house to you, and you're in there, as a common courtesy and respect, you know, just you know, I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm just saying, you know, there's nothing worse than you know, watching guys over, you know, and you know, again, to me, it's just a common courtesy kind of thing. You know, maybe take a screenshot of it, you know, and afterwards, whatever, you know, have the conversation when you're outside of it. But it's like, you know, that's what ends up happening is kind of what you were talking about. You become a taster. You know, cigar shops become a taster. So it's like, hey, I'm going to turn you on to something you've never had or tried. You know, so here's that Nicaraguan, you know, kind of cigar that we were talking about, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know, you go, hey, have you heard about the cigar? Oh yeah, I just saw that they were on, you know, super cheap ass cigar.com, whatever, you know, for, you know, a blowout sale.
Buying that domain.
Yeah, it's I just made that one up. I don't. It's probably available. So, you know, but that's you know, because what it'll happen is, like, there are websites that we do not sell to that will call somebody. Let's say, for example, your buddy who says, hey, I brought something in and it's not moving. So instead, you know, from a, and I guess this is, you know, hey, it's not moving. They'll get a phone call from somebody and they'll go, hey, I'm looking for such. You guys carry this? Now, yeah. And hey, I'm up in such Pennsylvania, whatever. You know, if I buy some of that, you know, would you sell it to me all? You know, and I'll pay X amount over cost. And so instead of just, you know, blowing it out at 30, 40, 50% off to get rid of it, to put something else on the shelf that sells, they'll just pack it all up and they'll ship it over to somebody else. And then they'll do all the back end dirty work to some of these, you know, so, you know, you don't, you know, from a lot of people, and I get it. And this kind of goes back to kind of the philosophy of us, you know, let's say someone's making, you know, we'll call it $20 an hour. They make $20 an hour, and, you know, they get off work, they get their paycheck, and they go into a humidor, and there's 1,200 different options to smoke within a humidor, maybe 1,500, 750. And they pick one of our cigars up. To me, if that's one half of 1 hour's worth of work to sell them a $10 cigar of one of our products, that's probably one of the highest compliments I could ever think of. Like when you put it in perspective like that, 1/2 of 1 hour's worth of work allows them to the ability to buy one of our cigars. Then that means for me, I have to do everything on the back end to make sure that it's well fermented tobacco, that it's going to smoke well, that it's going to stay lit, it's going to have, it's going to hit all the notes that we kind of talked about. And there's a responsibility on my level, and I know that's a big kind of responsibility to kind of burden, but that's the importance of what that means to me. Us as a company, right? Like that's, so whenever I think about, when you kind of put it in those terms, it's very impactful, when you kind of think of it that way, and so now I hope that I partner up with good tobacconists that recognize the value that we bring, and that they're proud to sell a product that we make, and that they're, because that gives them the confidence to say, you know what, hey, I'm going to give this one over to Gibbs, or I'm going to give this over to, to Zach, that's kind of brand new to this, but I'm going to, but it gives them the confidence to know that all the things that we take in consideration when we make the product, that gives them the confidence to put it in someone's hands to make sure that they can sell it and then transfer that sale, and then it's going to do all the things that they thought. So they come back and they go, dude, that was really good. Can I get some more of those? Or what's next in the portfolio? I tried that one. What else did they do? And so we only make about, we do about 1.2 million cigars a year. 250,000 of that goes to Europe. The rest of it comes here in the States. And we only have about 300 accounts throughout the United States, some big, some small, and everything kind of in between. And but we try to partner up with people that, one, are really good tobacconists and still are giving that educational part of the whole experience. And then secondly, we don't have sales reps that are out door knocking trying to open up more and more accounts. It's like we have the account set that we have, and we just want to push the product through them. And it's a win-win for us, and I think for them too, because they don't have to worry about listen. Most people are going to have Ashton, Fuente, Placencia, Rocky Patel, Alec Brad, what I mean? Like they're all kind of cookie cutter in that aspect, sprinkled in with a little bit of this and that, right? So you try to be differentiating to say, okay, hey, we've got some brands that that are well enough established and well known, but also at the same time that the average Joe probably would or may or may not know about, and we want to tap into that guy. So that was kind of my thought process.
You did it with us, sir.
Yeah. Look, I'm just happy you've got an account down the street from Zach. So
me too.
No duh, right? So you don't have to travel an hour to get one.
Zach, when I need some, I can just let you know, and you can.
Yeah, you can just let me know. I'll go grab some down the street.
Call Zach or get Gibbs to call Penny.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I think that the because obviously that's so again, having a relationship with them. So this kind of goes into Sabretooth, right? So if I make 250, 300 boxes of Sabretooth or Black Irish, and I send 2 or 3 boxes to a shop, to everybody that supports us, they're going to look at their list of people who buy a lot of RoMa Craft, and they're going to, because think of it this way, right? So, you get, there's 24 in a box. So you get, approximately 72 different, Sabretooths in this example. So realistically, they could sell that box, as put it out on a shelf, and if it sells, it sells. But they've got to buy and spend a lot of other money with me to be able to get that account, to get a product like that, right? So sometimes you'll see people take them and then put them in sampler packs or break them up, and they'll, here's a little bit of the other core line stuff, and here's 2 or 3 of the kind of rare kind of things, and it's $100, which is actually a pretty good deal when you think about it. It's not like they're trying to pawn off a bunch of dog rockets on you and say, here's a bunch of shitty cigars you'll never smoke. But, a lot of people look at it and go, well, why do I just want to get that one box of Sabretooth. It's like, well, I've got to spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for RoMa Craft to send me, 2 or 3 boxes of this. So I've got to move a lot of this other stuff.
More RoMa.
Yeah, you got to buy more RoMa, right? So, it's an ugly part of the business because you like to do those types of things as far as like trickling out some really cool rare stuff and some fun stuff to let people who really, really are in the know of the things that we're kind of releasing. But on the flip side of that, you're not, at the same time, like there are certain shops that I have that they sell so much RoMa daily in and out that every one of them would buy a box of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are they going to do with 3 boxes? 3 boxes is just going to piss a bunch of people off, So on one hand, you say, okay, well, do you just use them for events? And if you come out and you do a store event, then, hey, you can, but it would be the same thing. Like, hey, if you buy a certain amount of this, then you can buy a certain amount of that, so it's like, why not just put them in bags and, and just, sampler packs and then just kind of sell them out? I mean, I'm going to do the same thing if I did it in an event anyways. So, but you're always kind of looking for like a good balance to, LE to core line. So I would say, for us, typically the way we do it is I try to look at what's 25% of your annual spend is what I will allot in your LE stuff. So kind of, for easy math, you spend $1,000, then you get $250. If you spend $10,000, you get $2,500, versus, then that way it's like, I'm rewarding you for, kind of getting a wider distribution in the products that we make, and selling all of them. And hopefully you see like there's value in that. Right. So, I've not found an easy way to do it. I tried to just send them all out one time where everyone just got a box or two, and I piss people off for that because it's like I've got 80 members. What are you doing sending me 2 boxes of Black Irish? Like it's like I don't know what the right mix is. So if somebody's got a really cool suggestion, let me know, because I don't like pissing people off. I want to make it's one of those things that you're just trying to find a good balance, right? So, but when you have a good relationship, how that ties in, when you have a good relationship with your local tobacconist and they get that, hopefully you're the first one that calls. You know what I'm saying? Oh, hey, I know you like this brand. I just got XYZ and you want to try it. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Hold me a box or hold me a set or a sampler or whatever. And that's, having a good relationship. I didn't collect all this bourbon just because, I'm a nice guy. I go in there and I give my local liquor guy cool, weird stuff that I find from other places and go in there and drink with them and build a relationship. This is all about relationships. So,
yep. Well, that's what
it's awesome.
To me, that's what cigars have been about. As long as I've been smoking cigars, it's about a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it really boils down to.
100%. But post COVID, the relationships have deteriorated. Like there's a weird thing. So and I kind of bring this. So if you had a good staff and you spent time and you educated and you got guys that were or gals that were really cigar nerdy, tobacco geeks, whatever you want to call them, and then somehow they got furloughed, you hope that they came back. Most likely a lot of them went and found other jobs making a little bit more money and left kind of the cigar industry as a whole. So now you have people that you're trying to train up to kind of get up to speed because you lost your right hand man or whatever, and so which because guys who frequent and smoke a lot of cigars aren't going back into cigar shops as frequently as they used to because now they're accustomed to buying online. So you kind of have this whole dynamics that have changed and shifted post COVID that we're all trying to kind of work with, right? So but I do know this. Cigar sales are starting to level off, so the demand and the spike has really kind of tapered off a little bit. Like cigar sales are still up over 2019, but I do believe that retailers are going to have to work trying to get the guys and gals back into the shop. The casual smokers are going to drift away or go online, and so you're going to have to do more to get people back into the shops, and it's going to start with the culture that they create, right? Like, is it welcoming? Is it my local shop down here? It's no longer here anymore, but every Sunday we would do a potluck. So everyone would, you know, make a dish and take it over there, and we'd watch football games and basketball and whatever. But every Sunday, domino table going on. But I knew everybody, you know, and so, you know,
Yeah.
those I don't see that type of energy. I mean, you do. Don't get me wrong. It's still out there. It's just not as frequently across the nation. A lot of cigar shops that it used to be. So,
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, because there's a shop up the street from us that used to have chili cook-offs, like monthly. You know, bring in people, have chili cook-offs, everybody have a smoke, have a good time. But they
Texas
kind of
chili
tapered
always
off
win.
from that.
Bet the Texas chili won and pissed everybody off.
Man,
Probably.
I'm kidding.
I don't think I actually had a good Texas chili from there.
Oh, okay.
Most of ours had beans, but there was one guy that did have some Texas chili in there, and it was choice. It was good. But that was it, just one.
So, Michael, is it CJ
Yeah.
Stroud State or is it Dak Prescott State?
Oh man, I think it depends on how north you are. I think, and who's winning. To me, I could care less. I am a college football fan.
Go sports ball.
There you go. So so I went to the University of Oklahoma. So I follow a lot of the guys that played at Oklahoma. So, you know, whether it's Kyler Murray out in Arizona or Baker Mayfield down at Tampa, you know, all the other people that kind of play. So I'm pretty fortunate that I can kind of find any NFL team, and I've, you know, there's 3 or 4 players from Oklahoma that are on the roster. So I think we had 4 different players both in San Francisco and Kansas City. So it was like, you know, I just want to see a good game. But you know, I know Skip's pretty hardcore Dallas fan. But
Yeah, he is.
you know, it's but for me, I just want to see a good game. You know, that's the only thing I really care about. I mean, I can watch football anytime. Like, I don't really
It's a
care.
safe answer.
Yeah. So, or whoever's on my fantasy team, I just want to win my fantasy games. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Oh, there you go.
yeah. Like let's we're gonna keep it 100, right? Like if I could win, whoever's on my fantasy team. So that takes.
There you go.
I want to win. So I just want to win. Do you guys play fantasy?
Nice.
I have a few times, and with my going back to Twitter, my Twitter cigar group, we played a couple of 3 years. I think I won the first year, and I didn't have a damn clue what I was doing.
Okay, it's the best time.
I still don't have a damn clue what I'm doing, but I won, so I didn't care.
Yeah,
No, I one and done, man. Just, you know, stop there. Stop on
yeah.
top.
Just fucking, I'm out, bitches. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Well, it is coming to the sad part of our show of this thing is burning my fingers. And I'm happy that it burned my fingers. I let it burn my fingers because I didn't want to put it down at all. So I'm going to review it. The entire time, consistent smoke. I love the smoke output on this thing. Still no film on my mouth, so bravo. You got that vote for me. I really enjoyed the cigar, and I appreciate I didn't have to talk, and I got to smoke this thing, so I really love that. So for me, it's going to have 5 out of 5 leaves. This is one I'm going to seek, even if I have to go an hour to get it. I'm going to go get another one. I don't care, you know, how much I'd pay for it either, honestly, but I'm going to get another one. So it's going to get a 5 from me, and I can't smoke it anymore. Thank you.
We'll go get another one. You want 3?
For the record, that's his first 5 out of 5 rating.
That is my first 5.
That's
out
a
of 5.
Yeah.
I dig that cigar.
It was good.
Just because you have Michael.
It was
on.
good. Yeah.
It was good.
It was very
Yes,
good.
it's got
It
the
was
good
good.
sauce.
Yeah. So okay, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
How about you, Andy? Sir. Yeah, well, it's well deserved. That was a damn good cigar.
I'm still smoking mine, but it's getting we're getting to the end, and yeah, like I said, I haven't had a bad RoMa Craft in the number of RoMa Crafts that I've had. I've still got 2 in my humidor. It was a tough choice between this and the Aquitaine. I think I have the 2 Aquitaines I have sitting in there, but I've been staring at this one for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, I gotta have the cigar. But yeah, I'm with Gibbs. It's got great smoke output. It tastes great. great construction. I didn't have any issues out of it. I don't know what kind of super glue you use on the Intemperance band, but that was a bitch to take off.
Same here. Mine's tattered. I mean, it is in pieces trying to get that band off.
But other than that, yeah, I'll give it a 4.8, and that's partly because it's probably my fault because I'm half congested. But yeah, it's one of those cigars that I'll just go back to every time I see one in the humidor. And part of that, I think, is just the fact that I've known of and talked to Skip and have brand recognition and love the product you guys put out. So I have no problems giving it high ratings, and because I do enjoy it, and it's something that I enjoy sitting down and just smoking it. And I didn't have to listen to Gibbs talk for the last hour and a half.
That's a plus.
And nobody said cardamom, so there we go. I'm putting that out there.
Oh, son of a... We can't go one episode you don't say cardamom, you son of a bee. All right. So how about you, Grim?
I already did it. It's muy bien. It's muy bien.
Muy rico.
No, I love giving people shit. It's like my go-to thing, and I can give no shit to this fucking cigar, man. Like, I've been trying to pick it apart this entire time, but like it's been awesome. It's a great experience. I want another one, and that doesn't happen very often. So, and I'm not trying to kiss ass here. Like, it really was a great cigar, man. So it's going to be my first 5 as well, because I usually never give. I always love being like the low ball, score and all that, and I can't do it this time. I tap out, man. I bow to its greatness.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right.
It's
All right,
nice.
Robert.
It's nice. Muy bien.
It's nice.
Gotta join the fellas. It's the first 5 I've ever. My favorite was the Davidoff 3. Okay. I just liked it. It was good. But this one, far superior. It burned evenly all the way down to the point where my fingers are still burning. And I took that with a great amount of pleasure because there was no aftertaste. The input was great. The output was great. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And Zach, you'll be getting my order. And so will Penny.
I don't know that I can get that one here. You might have to call Penny.
Gibbs can call Penny. He's got her phone number.
Yeah, I can call Penny now. So yay, she doesn't think I'm such a scumbag to actually have her number now. So yay.
She hasn't blocked you yet, at least not that you know of.
Well, I mean, the first call is going to get blocked, but
so who is
at least I have the number.
First, but hey, before you block me, can you send these cigars that I need? Yeah.
Can you send me some?
Get my order
Exactly.
out
Can you
first.
see these Romas?
Yeah.
Just okay. I love you, Penny. That's it.
Hilarious. Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
What is that?
Okay. So the Neanderthal was fantastic, and I couldn't pick out like a specific like flavor note that I could call out, like coffee or something like that. Although it's just kind of perfect. I don't know. I will say the last cigar I gave a 5 rating was the Intemperance. I don't remember which one. It was the lighter Raptor one.
Oh,
but
it
was just
EC.
so on point for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was it. And I like that one slightly better than this one, so I'm gonna go piggyback on Andy and call this a 4.8 out of 5 leaves. And I would definitely get another one of these, and it's so enjoyable.
Well, considering they're so different in flavor and smoke production and body, like I mean, you're on both spectrums. Like you've got Neanderthal that's like this powerhouse. Especially if you, it's a heavier, thicker cigar. I mean, there's a Pennsylvania double Ligero, there's Dominican Ligero, Esteli Ligero, and Pueblo Nuevo Ligero. So there's like 4 different. So it's got a long finish, but it's super smooth, right? Like it's one of those cigars that it's like
super smooth.
So, but again, So something that we do that I didn't really share with you guys is the thicker cigars, that heavier tobaccos, we age for 16 weeks, which is a long time. Something that I think a lot of people don't really think about. Thinner ones we do about 12, which is 3 months. The other one's 4 months. So like, let's say, for example, if there was a water issue in here or carpet was wet, they bring in these extractor machines that pull out humidity, right? And so if you let the extractors run and they're pulling out humidity and all the tobacco, essentially there's a cigar reader. They pull out the cigar, they put it in a little slot, it prints off, and it tells you how much humidity is in the cigar. And you can do that in about 2.5 weeks. From being total wet to 2.5 weeks, right? So you crank up the ACs and you turn on the extractors and you can pull out the humidity. I'm a big believer, Texas barbecue, low and slow. Skip and I, when we kind of set this together, this is kind of one of the philosophies we put. And now there's a capital carrying cost that has to happen. So when other factories see that we're aging the cigars as long as we are, and we have them at the price point that they're at, people are often shocked because, that's like going and getting a dry aged steak. You know what I mean? Like that you're willing to pay, $35, $40 a pound for, or whatever the number is, right? So, I also believe like I could microwave hamburger meat and make it, cooked, but low and slow is the better way to go. And so once that cigar hits a certain humidity and temperature, it goes into packaging and it goes out the door. For us, if I rolled it January 1, week 1 of the year, it will stay in there until week 16 to get pulled out, shipped, and then because we just use true ambient temperature and we've kind of built like a sauna room, like where it's a little bit warm in there to help with the heat, but very, very cool. Obviously you don't have a guy like Skip that's as dedicated to the craft aspect of it. And again, we didn't make cigars. We didn't invent making cigars. We didn't invent the word craft. But what we do that a lot of people don't do is we have the discipline to do it the right way, right? And that takes a lot of time. And so, but again, when you're only doing 1 million cigars, you can make these types of choices and decisions. If you were doing 10 million cigars, there's no way you you wouldn't have the space to do, or 20 million cigars, you know what I mean? Like you would have to get them out. Like it's a space issue at that time. And so, I think, when you kind of see our price point in our catalog, kind of in the $7 to $12 price point. I think Neanderthal HN is $12. Maybe some of the Neanderthal exotic stuff's like $14. But and we're about to release the new repackaged, but the new Cro-Magnon that's about to drop to Pennsylvania. So that has kind of started to trickle out, but probably on Monday it'll go full. So make sure your local tobacconists are calling me to say, hey, let's get the new Cro-Magnon in queue for them. But is that
Cro-Mag 2.0?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, no, I think so. Cro-Magnon is what we started with. That was what we launched with. That's kind of the backbone and flagship of our brand. And so when you're so a couple things happen. And I know we were trying to get off this thing, but I just lit a second cigar, so I'm good.
No, we'll talk, man.
We'll talk. We got time.
Yeah, we'll talk.
I go back and get another one.
So it happened. It happened to the retailers too, right? So during people are in 2018. There's a revolution going on in Nicaragua. So the Pan American is shut down. So in 2018, a lot of the big companies were like, hey, send as much as you can because I don't want to get stuck without cigars. So then, so the trade show 2019, attendance was down and sales were down. So kind of closing out 2019, not every factory brought everyone back immediately. It was more of like, let's kind of see what's going to go on with sales and cigar trends. And so because the big guys had already bought, so at the trade show, they were only buying stuff that was kind of newish that hadn't been released because they bought bulk. And because no one was sure how long that Nicaragua was going to be kind of shut down. And so, or what was going to happen. So 2020, March kind of kicks off. So mid-March, everyone's kind of half-assing. They're kind of making some cigars. They're not full capacity. No one's cranked up, whatever. And then COVID happens. Everyone sends everyone home. And then
again,
so the And then all of a sudden, people start getting bored, and Americans are going to American, and they start, basically, like ship it. You know what I mean? Like click and ship. Just like everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden, in April and May, all these POs start getting fired off. Like, hey, do you have cigars? No, I don't have cigars. Okay, do you have cigars? No, I don't have cigars. Yeah, I got cigars. We'll ship it. We'll take everything. Oh, we lost somebody. And so eventually, what ended up happening is so most of the big online guys do ridiculous numbers in between Black Friday and New Year's. Like it's ridiculous amount of they were doing on those regular days kind of what they were doing combined dollar amounts in that 5-week period daily.
Oh wow.
So just you don't got them? Okay, here's a PO. When you get them, send them to me. Hey, do you got cigars? Okay, hey, send them to me, and we'll just take everything, right? A lot of the factories were doing the same thing. Okay, now I gotta get guys back in the chair. I gotta crank up. I gotta go buy more tobacco. I got all these POs, and I gotta ramp up to scale. So a couple things happen. Well, supply and demand happens. Well, tobacco's, Esa Ligero that was going for $7.25 is now $10.25. Pennsylvania or broadleaf out of the Connecticut River Valley was $20, $35, $36 a pound. Now it's $40 something a pound. Tobacco costs just got so, but you got to the point to where it's like, okay, it's not sorted, it's not separated. You know what? Just send me the container. I'll take care of it. I'll have my guys go through it. And so you have stuff that's really, really good, stuff that's really, really bad, and stuff that's really not usable at all, but you bought it all, right? So you bought bad. Just like whenever you bought all the stuff that you don't have cigars, I'll take them. You don't have them, send them to me. So then all of a sudden your product mix in your humidor is not great because you're having a hard time getting cigars as well. Manufacturers are having a hard time keeping a supply line of really good tobacco. And so a lot of things were kind of going on, and so you're bed borrowing, dealing, trying to get tobacco, the right amount of tobacco for the right things you need to do for production to keep things going. And when you're not buying $200 million worth of tobacco and you're only buying a couple $1 million worth of tobacco, you're not nearly as important as the guy that's going to take it all without being as selective and picky as we would be, right? Because we can't make bad choices. We just don't have the bandwidth. You know what I mean? Like buying a couple bad bells of tobacco would be detrimental to us, and so you have to be a little bit more selective. Anyway, so last year to keep the price, so eventually you get to a point to where it's like, okay, for the quality of tobacco that's available, it hits this price point, this threshold, to where you can no longer continue to put out kind of what you've already identified, what your core line values or for price points are going to be at. So for us to go in and buy, overpriced, under fermented, not prepared, not separated types of tobacco, and really be a crapshoot of whether or not, a third of it's going to be really good, a third of it's going to be okay, but it needs work, and then the other third is going to be, kind of garbage. At the price points that they're asking for, you just say, you know what, this is no longer a viable source that we can continue to work with. And so last year, we kind of took that information and decided to kind of look at, Pennsylvania broadleaf. But then the conversation piece kind of comes around and you're like, okay, well, what's out there, that's a Pennsylvania broadleaf that becomes the staple? What's the mark of a good Pennsylvania broadleaf that's out there? If I said, Connecticut broadleaf, people will say Liga, right? Or anything that La Flor Dominicana has done in the past. Some of the stuff maybe that Saka or Nick are doing, kind of that's out there, right? So then you look at the price points of some of those cigars, and you're talking anywhere between $17 to $25 per cigar, which goes against what we try to do for making cigars that really are produced for people who smoke frequently and often. Again, could we do it and do it well? Absolutely. But you kind of have to go through all this other stuff to even, to see if it's even viable, because it doesn't make sense to go out and buy 10,000 pounds and only be able to use, 2,500 pounds. You got to figure out what to do with the remaining part of it. So we thought this was a really good opportunity for us to kind of set the bar for what would be, again, there are some really good Pennsylvania broadleafs out there, but there's nothing that becomes like the standard for like, hey, this is the one that hits. And so Skip went into the lab and started working on this last year, and so it's fucking pretty good. So Cro-Magnon originally a lot of things, it's very one-dimensional. You like the flavor, it hits all the way through, it doesn't stop, right? This one for me, it's a little bit more balanced. It's got some nuances. It's got a little sweetness to it that some natural sweetness that is there in the original Cro-Magnon, but it's a little bit more kind of intensified on this one. It's just really good, well fermented tobacco, and it's just kind of like on the scores that you guys gave us on these other ones. I think it'll be in the same it'll fare the same way.
Awesome.
So
I can't wait to try one when they're out.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I know I'm going to definitely branch out and try more. I've only had 3, so I'm definitely going to try to branch out and get more.
Yeah, that was my first.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to turn you casual smokers into cigar nerds. You'll be.
That's right.
I'm
God
man.
bless you. All right.
You just got to get to your patio more frequently. That's it. So.
That's it. That's it. And I mean, my patio's being neglected. I definitely need to step it up out here.
What's Weasel Dark 30?
Where do you see that?
You mean
Weasel
Team
Team
6?
Yeah, there's Weasel Team 6.
That's it.
Yeah. So there are levels of being Weasel. So back in the day, before they had podcasts, stuff like this, in 2007, 2006. A lot of guys were doing blogs, and so they would come to the trade show and they would say, hey, if you give me a box of cigars, I'll do a review. And kind of they would really take advantage of a lot of the manufacturers, and then realistically having 10, 15 people on your website probably for the year does not justify giving a box of cigars for reviews. And so some were better than others, right? So, but there were, so you would say, okay, here come the weasels, right? You would see them coming because they just have bags and bags of shit they kind of go around and collect it. So that would be like your basic weasel, right? Another basic weasel would be, the cousin or the brother-in-law or some family member on the spouse's side that always shows up, never contributes, but will always smoke one of your cigars, right? So you have you got your special humidor that's kind of bottom barrel bullshit you'll never smoke, that they can have anything they want out of that. But then you got your shit up here like, please do not touch, give away or even look at, because they don't appreciate the cigars, right? So it wouldn't really matter, one way or the other. Then you have you got guys that would meet in Herf and get together and be like, oh, I just picked up a box of DL700s or Diggers or something cool, and like, oh man, I've been looking for those, and you want to trade out something, what do you got? And you would kind of go back and forth, and you would swap something out. Weasel Team 6 actually came from the guys from Zycar back when Zycar was really still cool, and before they sold. So every time that they would have one of their annual sales meetings, this random package of cutters and lighters would show up, and they would say, oh, hey guys, thank you guys, appreciate you, here's some cutters and lighters. And so we would always kind of return kind of in jest, right? Okay, well, here's a bunch of cigars for you guys to smoke. And so they started kind of dubbing this Weasel Team 6 as kind of, they felt like they got the better end of the deal because they got a bunch of cool cigars out of it, and they were probably giving us the refurbished bullshit cutters and lighters. But, at least they didn't look like they were, at least they were freshly painted. Who knows, right? But, I mean, they were good guys. So Kurt and those guys did a really good job. And so they were the ones that kind of started dubbing Weasel Team 6. And so it just kind of evolved. And so, the Jedi Weasel, though, the Master Jedi Weasel, you always see the one guy with the big pocket, Guayavera, got multiple cigars in his shit, show off what he's got. And you're like, oh, man, that sure looks tasty. What's that taste like? And they're like, oh, you know what? And then they hand you the cigar. It's like you trick that guy into giving you that cigar, right? So that's a Jedi Master Weasel. So that's kind of where it kind of came from. And so exactly, right? Like, you want me to have that cigar. You don't know you want me to have it, but but then what's really cool was
these are cigars for me.
Exactly. So one of the things that kind of happened early on for me was there's a Cynthia Fuente would come to the local cigar shop, And we would sit on the patio up at Heroes and Legacies, and she would show up and do her events. And this was back when she was married to Wayne. And I don't think she gets nearly enough credit for, what she has done for kind of being, a brand ambassador for the Fuente family. But she was one of the first ones to ever hand me one of my cigars. So, this is from my grandfather's, collection, whatever. And that's so cool, And then kind of fast forward, I was in DC one time, and Skip and I they were making Cro-Magnon, and we had just gotten some of the Candela stuff in, and so we had been tasked with doing kind of this cigar that was a one-off for a charity thing for the guys over in Maryland for the B&B cigar group. And so Skip was just kind of playing around with it and said, let's do the Black Irish. And so we had made it. And anyways, long story short, I was someplace and this guy goes, "Hey, I saw you guys were working on this Candela project. Man, that looked really cool." And it hit me that people actually pay attention to the stuff that we post, right? And I just happened to have one on me, and I'm like, "Hey, yo," and I handed it to him. It was like, it might have been my only one too. I was like, "Motherfucker," he Jedi'd me, But that's
he got it.
He got it right, exactly. So that was one of those things that just kind of shows you the impact that again, our little timestamp on the cigar industry and our impact and what we've done to kind of to the people that thousands of people that kind of follow us and support us is just a really cool kind of thing, and you want to embrace that. And so little by little, you just that's now I will say the Drew Estate guys that follow Drew Estate just assume that if it's Weasel Team, that means we give us stuff for free. It's like, well, slow down, cowboy. It's like that's I'm just kidding. But I think that because I stand in line, I swear to God, I seen Jonathan Drew give away like the same ring or same thing like to 20 different guys. "Oh, this is my thing," and hand him a little trinket. Good people, like they're again super top notch. Hardcore enthusiasts. I love it. So, but yeah, that's where the Weasel kind of came from. So then we kind of have spun off on that. We started doing this thing called Weasel Team or Weasel Fest, which is an all-day barbecue concert kind of venue we've done every other year. We've done 2 of them. Big production. Nice. It's kind of just a cool way to kind of do something fun. It's more expensive. You don't make any of your money back. But yet at the same time, when we weren't going to the trade show, it made sense to kind of allocate some of our money that we would spend at the trade show to do this festival. And so I'd like to do it again if I could figure out a way to do it kind of in a backyard, more of an acoustic style, MTV unplugged kind of series would be kind of a cool thing to do. Yeah. Without all the production parts of it, I've got a friend of mine in Austin. Actually, I got to go visit his little place downtown where he's got a couple of acres in Midtown that said, it might work out. So getting the venue kind of, where you can smoke is always difficult here in Austin. And so that's kind of, so that's the Weasel, that's kind of the story of the Weasel. So, it's, nice. It's one of the things that we do is we do the RoMa Craft Pick of the Day. So we, these guys post pictures of RoMa where it's really, really artistic, and, they just do it on their own. And so if we come across something that's really artistic where we take it, we repost it, we call it the RoMa Craft Pick of the Day, then we'll send them like a little, care package or something as kind of an appreciation for the post. And because some of them are really, really well done.
Got to step up the picture game.
Yeah. Right? So, but you got to hashtag RoMa Craft Pick of the Day for us to see, because we follow those hashtags.
So on that note, I think we're going to bring this episode to a close. But thank you, Michael, for being on our podcast. We really enjoyed this. We really enjoyed the cigars. Appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime you want to come on. You can drag that Skip guy along if you want to. If you don't have to, though, that's up to you. But again, thank you, Michael Rosales from RoMa Craft. It's been a good time. And on that note, I'm going to say good night.
See you.
Good night.